All right, here we go. Lisa, we're on to our second step of the trilogy. As everybody's going to basically talk for a few seconds, everybody, as you join. Welcome again. Dean Cottrell here with T360. I've got Lisa Picardo with me. Lisa
Hi,
and myself.
everyone.
Hey, Lisa and I run the brokerage and team consulting division for T360, and we're having a great time and wanted to share with everybody this trilogy. So we broke off the 10 steps to a fast-growing business. And this is whether you're a large team or a brokerage, what are those key steps to helping take your organization from here to here? And these are the steps. So last time, Lisa, as you know, we did our first call, right? And we dove into the first areas. And what were the first areas that we shared with everybody?
So we talked about the importance of doing your annual business review, really deep diving into all of your financials, your numbers, your organizational structure, your marketing, your lead generation and conversion, your positioning in the market. All of that was step number one. Step number two is strategic intent. Like, where are you going? I like to say, where do you want to be when you grow up? But like, where are you going in, 3 to 5 years? And what are your milestones to get there? And what projects do you need to reach that first milestone? And then that was step number three. Step number two was competitive assessment, like really diving into who are your competitors, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, your competitors' strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And, they're finding out everything you can about your competitors. And that's something we believe all three of those exercises you should do annually.
Yeah, you want to do an annual basis. So, and this is one of the things that we want to share with everybody is what are those key steps? Lisa just shared that the first of the trilogy was those foundational steps for you to determine where your organization sits. And that's the benchmarking and the ABR, we call it ABR, annual business review, where we do a deep dive benchmarking your business. We encourage you. So every one of these steps, we're going to share with you and go through it. We're going to give you some insight into these steps. And we encourage you to do these steps yourself in your running of your business. We do have a program we'll talk about at the end. It's called our Fellows Program that we've worked with hundreds of teams and brokerages through. It's an MBA style program of going through these key steps of taking your organization, whether it's a team or a brokerage, to higher levels. I know we've got a lot of next homies that are with us here, some Century 21 franchisees, independents, all different walks, organizations. Everyone's trying to, get to another place from where you are to where you're going. And these are the steps that will get you there. So that first of the trilogy, if you were on that call or if you were signed up, awesome. You got the recording. Today we're going to, and Chris, I guess you'll follow up because we'll send out the recording from the first one and the second one so you guys can watch it. So we'll make that executive decision right now. Even if we were going to do that anyways, we're going to do it. And then we're going to dive in today, and Lisa's going to grab the screen, and we're going to walk you guys through, first off, an introduction of T3. Some of you guys are very familiar with T360. Some of you are not. So we'll start off with just a few seconds on T3, and then we're going to dive into the meat of the presentation, which is the growth steps. So who is T360? I'm just going to hit on the bullets. Really, our services includes, Lisa and I, as I mentioned, run our brokerage and team consulting division, but we also, and that dives into financial benchmarking. We have an organized real estate consulting division, a technology division, a talent division. We do events, and some of the largest events to some of the most small events we do through our event group. Industry research, those are typically, most people know us because of our research and our trends report, our SP 200, the ranking of the top 200 executives. We also do marketing consulting, merger and acquisitions. We also have people who come to us and say, you know what, I really want to relook at my commission schedule and see about making a tweak here or there. So we also help with commission schedules. Great. The next step, next slide here is about core competencies. This is where, dives in about operational. Lisa and I have very rich backgrounds in the space. Lisa oversaw 150 different operations across Canada and the US for a very large, very recognizable franchisor. And I ran a large brokerage on the East Coast for a long time. So we have a lot of our own experiences and knowledge. So there's a lot of competence there, but we dive in and help support organizations to move to a higher level of efficiency and profitability. The next thing you're going to see here is what we're really known for, is our research and publication. I say really known for, that's from the outside perspective. people typically know, oh yeah, I've seen the trends report. I'm familiar with it. I've heard Stefan Swanpo, our founder, chairman. We've heard him talk before in the past. So the trends report, we're in our 18th, 19th year now with our trends report. We also do an almanac, real estate almanac, where we do a deep dive in what are the largest and what are the acquisitions that took place last year? What are the rankings of the top 1,000 brokerages in units and an agent? What's the SP 200, the ranking of the top 200 most powerful people in the industry? Things like that you'll find in the Real Estate Almanac. All right, ready? Let's dive in.
I'm ready. So I'll kick off just talking about the 10 steps, again, refreshing your memory, 10 steps to high growth business. The first 3 steps I already spoke to. We're going to talk about the growth steps today. And then in 2 weeks, we'll talk about the last 3 steps, which is scaling. The one thing I want to mention, and we'll talk about our T3 Fellows program at the end, which goes through these 10 steps, is we also do custom consulting on for any one of these. If you just want to do an annual business review or annual business review and strategic intent, we'll do that with you. And if you're a larger company, we can go through many of these steps with all of your managers. So let's dive into the growth steps to a high growth business. First is brand story, and I'm going to speak to that. Recruiting personas, Dean will talk a little bit more about that. Recruiting process, and then annual goal setting. So those are the 4 steps 4 through 7 that we're going to cover in this particular webinar. Okay. So brand story, one of my favorites, I started as a young adult. I went to school for marketing. This is one of my favorites. I love this. We talk about 5 steps to really developing your brand story, right? So it's important to define your mission, vision, and values. You want to identify your target audience. You want to determine your brand archetype. And then you want to differentiate your brand from that of your competitors. And lastly, everything you do should create and embody a consistent brand identity. And the objective of this step is to produce a fully aligned, unique sales pitch. So first, we'll talk a little bit about mission, vision, values. And mission really talks about, like, why does your company exist? Like, what is it that you do and why does your company exist? Vision is really important, especially in recruiting too. Like, what does your company want to become, right? This should be aspirational and inspirational. Where are you going? Do you want to be some big company with 1,000 agents? Do you want to have 50 of the best agents in the business? What is your overall vision about who you want to be? And values is what does your organization really believe in, and how should your people behave? I'm a huge believer in this. I love Brene Brown puts together this list of values that you can work through and, decide with your company and with your agents. I did this exercise when I had my own company with all of my agents, and it was really cool to do it as a group to come up with what do we believe in and where are we going? So the second
exercise you can also do, Lisa, if I can throw in real quick, if those you guys might be, if you're just kind of trying to figure out, most companies put a sticker up and say, here's my values, here's my mission. But if it's something that you really have not done a deep dive on, you really haven't thought through this really is the foundation of your business, of what is your mission, what is your vision, what are the values. And I would encourage you, and Lisa, I'm curious your thoughts on this. Think of the organizations in the world, outside of real estate, frankly, that you really feel are awesome. Like, that is a phenomenal operation, organization, whatever it is. And then look at it and take a deep dive. And you'll see typically on their website, they'll have their mission, they'll have their vision, they'll have their values. And that'll help you work through this process of putting yours together as well.
Yeah, when you start to look at it, it's really cool, like Starbucks, how they built theirs, or Prada or Mercedes. I mean, like, just some of their vision and values are really cool. They're out there. So second is identifying your target audience. I don't think enough real estate brokerages really think this through, right? And by identifying your target audience, we're not saying, you're not trying to stop others from buying from you or using you, but instead it's really important to focus all of your efforts, on that ideal customer. Who is that for you, right? You can have a primary and a secondary market. But understanding, is it customer, if you're customer focused, like, is it a first time home buyer? Are you going after the luxury consumer? I had a consult recently with a team that's very focused on the military client, right? Geographic, are you looking at one particular subdivision. I mean, I had another team, she owns this subdivision, like 40% market share in this particular subdivision, major farming, all of that, or is it rural, or is it property type, urban dwelling, suburban homes, farm and ranch, ski homes, whatever that is, really start to build out who is your ideal customer. Anything to add on that, Dean?
No, this is, I guess there is something for me to add. This is kind of like, when we get into recruiting personas next, it's like the same kind of thinking. What is the persona or the avatar of your ideal customer? When you were talking and going through this, if you're a smaller operation, yeah, I can see you honing in real closely on some of these things. The larger operations end up having a larger tank, larger tent. Underneath that tent, they'll look to have people that fulfill a lot of these areas, right? And support somebody who might be in luxury, support somebody who might be in military, support somebody, and that's where you have to look at your tools and your system. So really, depending on where you are in your growth as an organization, depends on really, what you're going to be offering and what are you going to be really specialized in.
Right, exactly. So then we encourage you to look into your Jungian archetypes, right? Like, what is your brand? Like, where do you fit? So this morning I did an exercise with a group, and one showed up as the caretaker, right? And another one showed up as the rural, the ruler and royal archetype. So they're really going after the luxury market, right? And the caregiver was all about service and taking care of their people and taking care of their clients. So we just threw in here, the outlaw is Harley Davidson, another one like Gap is like Everyman, IKEA and Gap are like Everyman. We see ourselves as Sage at T360 and Hero. We fall under that. So there's a test that we go through, an online quiz to really determine your brand archetype. And then this is an assignment that we work through. So again, think through what's your mission, vision, values, what's your target audience? What is your archetype? What does the motto look like? What are your goals? What is your weakness? What is your greatest fear for that brand archetype? And then the importance of really differentiating yourself from the brand, like what sort of taglines are you using in your marketing and all of that. And then to really prioritize changes, right? So one of the companies we worked with today that came in as caregiver, but their colors are really bold, they're not soft enough. So they're going to start changing that in their marketing. As an example, is everything that you do in alignment, with internally, what your culture looks like, your agent services, everything that you're doing, your client touch points, is that all in alignment with that archetype? And then lastly is just really the importance of, being that purple cow, right? How are you differentiating yourself from your competitors? And what are you doing different to stand out? So that's the brand story pieces. Now we'll move into recruiting personas.
Yeah, I love the purple cow. So that's the brand. That's such a critical piece to help you create your guys' identity. Now we're going to move into recruiting personas. And this is a module where we take a deep dive and we say, okay, let's really hone in on who is it out there in the marketplace. If you think about the current agents in your organization, you'd love to replicate, you'd love to duplicate, you want to clone them. Who are they in the form of a persona? And we'll talk about specifics here in a second. And then who in the marketplace would you love to attract? Okay, so identify. Now this exercise will help you identify gaps. You might say, hey, I'd really like to have this persona, but I only have one. Why don't I have more? So you identify potential gaps and then help to fill those gaps. You also can craft personas for your recruits, which we're going to talk about. That's all really the big part of this module here. Determine time and resources needed for each, because in this process, you're going to find out and think about that persona. What do they want? What are their wants? What are their needs? And then what are the systems, tools, resources that I have to support those wants and needs? Are there gaps like we just talked about? And then you develop a target list of these personas that I've honed in, knowing what their wants and needs are, knowing what my tools and systems are. And I'm in a really clear, concise, and compelling value proposition discussion for that persona. Let's develop that target list. Who am I going after? And then begin sourcing. So and then you got to go, right? Pick up the phone and start going after it. Craft a plan for engaging potential agents. What's that look like? We're going to talk about that in just a second. And the objective here is know who and where to target. All right. Instead of just kind of like throwing everything out, be more specific. This is the thing that T3 does. in working with our clients is really honing and taking some time and energy and thinking strategically about how can you go from point A to point B in a more efficient and faster way, efficient way to get there. And personas will help you that in getting there. So here's some examples to really give you guys some visuals. So this is new Nicole. And if you look, it says on the right, I'm ready to work and I need help knowing what to do. So this is kind of a spreadsheet that we give to our clients. We encourage you guys to do this same exercise. That persona, you know, roughly in our market, that's going to be someone on the younger side, a first career, has some friends. I'm not going to read the whole document to you, but if you go to the bottom left, you see challenges where you list the challenges. That new Nicole, they lack business experience. They need and they require lots of development. Their needs really fundamental business and work education skills. They need sales. They need leads. They need organization. They need a bunch of things, right? They need everything. And then on the resource map over here, it just helps you hone it even more. What are the resources? So time, they have a lot of time, but they don't have any money. The network is very small, no leads, no systems. Client skills are literally small. They need everything, like we said, sales skills. And typically that younger persona is going to have a little more tech skills. It's okay. We can go to the next one. So that's new Nicole. Here's second career Sam to give you another visual of another persona. I've always loved real estate and I have lots of friends that I believe I can sell to. All right. That's that kind of persona. We're all familiar with it. Challenges, if I just jump to that, not known by his network, those friends as a real estate professional. As we know, they need to transition from that secret agent into someone that people know what they do. Managing their time and commitments because they've really never worked than typically 9 to 5 or whatever the time was when they showed up to work, they hit a time card. Needs credibility, establish themselves in real estate, that they are the expert in the space, training on how to convert relationships to clients, so on and so forth. So you can see challenges, needs, spending some time and energy thinking about that. And there's a resource map that gives some details to that. And then we have Active Amy here. This is going to be, I'd like my business to become more predictable and to grow. Challenges with the Active Amy persona example that we're providing here is treating her career or his career, if it's Active Andy, for example, treating their career as a choice, a business and a career choice, investing in themselves and their business. That's the challenge. The needs, training and growing their referrals and repeat business, and also make it repetitive, help adding new sources of business, and then tools and systems. And there's that repetitive piece, that automation they need to. And then frankly, a lot of agents need that. And then the resource map to give you some more details and really hone in your thinking about that Active Amy and how you can support that person. What are those tools, systems, and support and staff potentially that you guys have to support these agents? All right.
So I just want to add, so one of the other personas that we recently worked with a client and they're targeting is Sunset Sally. And I love this. This is that agent that's nearing the end of their career. They're tired, they're done doing this business. But they don't, they still feel like they have to do it all and they can't trust anybody with their clients. And so I do think it's a great recruiting opportunity to try and bring somebody over before they retire and pair them up and do a transition and all of that. So, so we talk about in all different personas in our exercise, and this is the worksheet. Go ahead, Dean.
Yeah, this is the worksheet. So this will give you an example. If you look at it, see the top, and you work your way down, just filling it out, saying, you know what, and it's just giving that thought, that time, that energy, strategically thinking about that persona. Here's the resource chart. You can see that. And then really honing in on the challenges. And at the bottom in the red there, what are the specific needs? And then real important on the right-hand side of that very bottom red area, if you can't see that, it says company supplied tools, system, or support to address that need. And this is where you want to highlight, frankly, any gaps that you have so you can fill those gaps, but also you really want to hone in on those tools and systems, and you can talk specifically to these personas when you get in front of the new Nicoles or the, whatever the other personas might be.
Okay, so then we move into recruiting system and how important it is to build a recruiting system that is systematic, right? Systematic recruiting process and set goals, right? You need to design marketing materials and campaigns, conduct compatibility meetings. You want to stay in contact or in flow with your prospects, develop scripts and offers, create a robust onboarding system. And so the objective really is just systematic, sustainable process, right? I love this. It's so true. Everybody on this call, right? Your road to success starts and ends with you, right? It's all about recruiting. If you do nothing else in your business, this is the most important piece for sure. So we have a 10-step recruiting system that we go through. It starts with gap analysis and goal setting, we go into sourcing and prospecting, marketing strategies, prospect management and workflow, the compatibility meeting, that first meeting to see if they're even a fit or you're a fit for them or vice versa. A business meeting where you really talk about what their goals are and where are they going. You help them develop a business plan, and then following up, constantly following up. And then we talk about crafting and presenting your offer, and we work with you on scripts. Like, do you have scripts to craft and present your offer? How do you handle objections? There's a variety of different objections out there. And, what are the objections you hear the most? And if somebody says to you that, oh, I love my manager, how are you going to respond to that in your own words, what you're comfortable doing? Closing, how do you ask for the close? And then we talk about onboarding as the last piece. So all really important. It's a big module for us. There's a lot to cover here. We can't do that in this short call, but these are just the 10 steps for you to think about. Anything to add, Dean?
Yeah, this is one thing you said. It's whatever you do, you want to systemize it so you can replicate it and you can improve on it. And it's not depending. I remember when I first got in the management chair, I didn't have a recruiting system. And so I was actively prospecting. I was a very strong listing agent. So prospecting and bringing agents in and prospective agents and but I was typically moving my interview to that person, and I didn't have my own interview. So if you think about your listing presentation back when you were listing homes, and you have it honed in, or you're currently listing homes as well as running your business, if you have that perfected, you're honed in and you're confident, you walk into that seller's home and you're like, what, I got this, and you're going to run it. That's the way you should feel with your recruiting presentation. And when I first got a recruiting presentation, and this is it, that I went through back, and I learned this years ago, and it really helped me. My best year, once I got a recruiting system, I recruited 46 people to a 50-50 split. And that took the office from here way up. The profit jumped over $1 million in a very short period of time. It was freaking awesome. And it allowed me to really pin my ears back. So no matter what you're doing is systemize it. All right. We provide a system, a proven system that works. If you're going to do that on your own, just get a system, perfect it, keep working on it to improve it.
And then the last piece is annual goal setting.
Yep. Now we're going to dive into annual goal setting. This is our fourth module of part of the growth. And these modules, guys, just so you get a visual, at the beginning of the month, we'll introduce the module, what the key is we're working on. They'll work on the assignment during the course of the month, and then we get together and do a group call or a one-on-one call, depending on whether financials are discussed. So that's kind of the timeline, give you a sense of how we do this. So annual goal setting, we'll get into the details and some meat on this. So first, define and measure your goals. We're 6-7 months down from where we started when we did that annual business review, that deep audit of your business. We benchmarked it. So now we're 6 months down the road and say, okay, let's find out what's going on. So what items maybe came up in that discovery, which is our annual business review? What came up as actionable items that you wanted to start doing or implementing in your business? Review your strategic intent milestone. That was from our first foundational steps that we talked about in our last module. Strategic intent is, where do I want to go? I sit here now. I know where I am. I want to go. And what's the timeline to get here? And then, so make sure that's really clear. And what are those milestones in that roadmap? So review those and look at your key performance indicators, KPIs, as we use the acronym there. So what are those key performance indicators that are going to really help drive your business? There are 7 specific ones that we really hone in on and talk about. We did that on last webinar, so I encourage you to watch it. But those 7 areas, really, for your time, your money, and energy, you'll get the best reward, best response, and best improvement in your business, really honing in on those 7 key areas, key performance areas. And how you track and measure success. So really have to define that. What is success? Because everyone on this call, frankly, your success is measured a little differently for each one of you. And that's what we find. So we really want to create some clarity there to that and say, ultimately, what does success mean to you? And then consider additional revenue streams. Of course, we're so fixated, a lot of us in the real estate space, and driving profitability right through the real estate. And we're all for that. Lisa and I, we're running down that road every single day, talking to how we can help improve that. But there are other areas that you can drive additional revenue to your organization. And you really should think about those and look to add other revenue streams to your business. Scenarios, and then there's a great what if spreadsheet that we have, and we'll give you some glimpse of it in just a second here. But what are some scenario planning? So if I made a tweak here in my business in this key area, what would be the impact to my business? Because ultimately, if you guys make a change, as we all know, what type of, you have to then get the energy behind it. You have to strategically talk about the rollout. You've got to get to implement it, the implementation plan. All those things have to happen. And there's a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money potentially goes into that. What's the benefit? What am I going to get on the other side of this equation? And really think through that process. An objective here is to produce measurable annual goals. All right, here's an example. So defining your results. Here's that what if spreadsheet. We're giving you basically 2 columns of it. There's 9 total columns, but in this what if scenario, let's say your unit increase. So if you look at that left column, it says current in unit salespeople, so on and so forth. So that's a current production going on with that business. They're making $371,000 in profit. They have 1,000 units, 70 salespeople, 14.3 per person productivity. Those are the numbers on the left column. On the right, let's say, okay, let's increase our per person productivity. Let's get another 100 units, increase our per person productivity to 15.7. All right, and you can see the bottom line there, the net profit went up from 371, went to 503,000. All right, so for that $130,000 increase, getting 100 units, getting up there per person productivity up to 15.7, what am I doing training-wise, education-wise, coaching-wise to make that improvement in that per person productivity and generating that additional 1,000 units? And then from that, so other scenarios to forecast, here are the 9 areas. So average sales price. So if you increase your average sales price, maybe honed in on a higher price point in your marketplace. Commission percentage. Currently, our average commission, like for example, on this spreadsheet, I know they're all negotiable. It says 2.5 on that left column there. You could adjust that. Say if we're going to focus energy, it's going to take time, longer time today than it did yesterday to sell that home. So we're going to really push and put some emphasis on getting that up to 2.55, 2.56, so 2.6, whatever it might be. What would be the impact to your bottom line? Another category, another area is going to be retained percentage. In our left column here, you see retained percentage, that's 10%. That's very low. That's company dollar retained percentage. That's the amount of money that you're retaining after you pay your agents referral fees and what you have to go towards your expenses and your profit. So if you increase that, say you brought in lower commissioned agents that you make more money off of, you recruited them, that helped to offset and generate some more company dollar for you. That would actually generate potentially more profit for you. And that would allow you to see how much money you make additionally. Referral units, if you're generating company generated business, this is one area that we really encourage you to spend a lot of time in, energy in, because you can actually get a really nice reward financially on creating company generated business, referring that out to your agents, creating a structure commission wise where you can retain a good bit of that money. And that's a good way we can generate some additional income. Transaction fees. You potentially have a transaction fee. You might not have a transaction fee. Things along those lines. That's something to look at. If you have it, you might want to increase it. That's something to think about as well. If you go back to our steps we did in our last call, the first 3 foundational steps, as Lisa shared with you earlier, one of those is competitive assessment that we encourage you to do on an annual basis at a minimum, and that you want to evaluate the market and see, hey, listen, am I now the lowest? We've done this exercise actually with so many organizations, and many come back and say, it's amazing. I've been sitting still here on my transaction fee as an example, and everybody else has gone up over the last 2, 3, 4 years. And I've stayed the same. So that's a real quick one. Actually could happen pretty fast and generate some additional money. Technology fees. Some people actually throw a tech fee on or something like that, a monthly technology fee. And then operating expenses. That's where you can really hone in on what are the expenses that we're laying out. Do I need to be spending this? Is there a way to create more efficiencies? Things along those lines. All right. Growth steps to a high growth business. This is a brand story. This is what Lisa talked about at the beginning. So these are the 4 areas that we've just highlighted for you guys. Brand story, really honing in on that value, on their brand. What is that brand? Recruiting personas, recruiting process, 5 and 6. We spend 60 days. We encourage you. That is the #1 area. So you want to spend a lot of time and energy in that space. And then annual goal setting, which I just reviewed with you.
So just to recap, these are the 10 steps, and 2 weeks from now, we'll go into the scaling. So how do you execute these steps? So one of the ways, you can do this on your own, of course, like that's, one option, but we also offer this great program called the T3 Fellows Program. That's a 12-month MBA style program for real estate brokers and teams. We're taking applications now. We're launching our next program in March. So open enrollment. It is geographic exclusive, so it's first come, first serve. Like we don't want to have competitors in the same market in the program because we do a lot of group masterminding. So again, it's just to help transform you as a team leader into a rapidly growing best-in-class brokerage or team. How it works, Dean alluded to this a little bit, but the first week we go through an instructional webinar where we give you a lot of information and best practices and all of that. We give you an assignment. You spend 2 or 3 weeks working on that assignment. And then week 4, we do either one-on-one meetings. Anything to do financial is one-on-one consultants. So 3 of the modules, the annual business review, the strategic intent, and annual goal setting are all financial. So those are one-on-one. The others are group calls, like group masterminds. And then we also do 2 in-person retreats a year. Requirements are you just need to be committed to growth, right? You need to have the time and be committed to growth. Must have a stable sales and revenue. It's not sales coaching. I mentioned the geographic exclusivity. There's an application process. All applicants are reviewed with a one-on-one meeting with Dean or I, and again, first come, first serve. So we'll talk about results. I know, Chris, I think there's some questions and answers. Should we go to that or wait till the end?
I've got it. It's from Jim. Jim Vincent was asking about, this is awesome. Will you be sharing these forms? No, we're not sharing the forms, but we're going to send you out the recording. So the recording is going to be there. So you can stop the recording and take a good look at the forms as best you can in there. But no, we're not going to share all those forms. That's part of the program. We do give you somewhat of a template and talk about it to a deep degree with you guys, so you can build out things if you want to go that direction yourself.
Great. Thanks, Dean. So let's talk about some results. I'll let you speak to these, Dean.
Yeah, so Tammy, here's the Next Homie. So Tammy and Liam Pierce from Next Home Seekers right along the coast in Myrtle Beach area. I have a great quote here. T360 were able to create such a great strong foundation. It's been a great process, the branding. So she loved branding. Tammy did. She ran a really successful team, and they had a brokerage, and it was really kind of honing into where was going to be that end state of the business. So it was also very helpful for them to go through a process strategically and work with us to really hone in and get a clear vision of where they wanted to go. And that's Tammy. Then we got Kemper Funkhauser. So Tammy was a franchisee with Next Home. Kemper runs Funkhauser. It's actually Funkhauser Real Estate Group. Say that 10 times fast. And it's an independent. Kemper's got a long history. He's the 2nd generation in this. Very involved with Virginia. It's in Virginia, but with T360's guidance and ideas, we put together a sphere marketing program that's simply and to the point. It was accepted widely within our company, and it's building so we can create more touch points. That's one of the things that one of the modules we're going to get into scaling is talk about sphere marketing and company generated business. So you'll hear that on our next call. But this is something Kemper's alluding to. And that's one of the things that we find that it's very sticky when you do something in this area and helping your agents market to their sphere and generate business. It's really something that helps benefit. And frankly, it could be a really good revenue driver and a profit center for you. And the third one here is Victor. So Victor, they're out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Savvy & Company, another independent recruiting agents, created a lot of new challenges for the brokerage that we hadn't really witnessed before, not on a scale. At least we recruited 20 plus agents, and this was the most successful recruiting drive ever at the brokerage. So, going through the process, honing in, and then looking at and working through the recruiting modules really was helpful to Victor and the team down there with Savvy. Okay, so the next steps, as Lisa had alluded to earlier, this is an application process. You'll see that, right? And Chris put that in the chat, or in the chat there is t3fellows.com. The website will lay out all the 10 steps. We do have a lot of testimonials, additional testimonials in there if you're looking for some other insight from others who've gone through this or gone down this path before you. Review and interview call, like Lisa said, you send the application, we'll do a call with you guys. One of the nice things about that is we'll actually get to talk to you about your organization. What are your challenges or you're dealing with right now, your current friction points? And we'll give you some thoughts and some ideas in that. And then we'll talk about the program and see if it's really going to be a good fit. We're looking for personal commitment, both in time and also there's money involved, of course. So that's all part of it. And we'll talk about what that looks like.
Yeah. So lastly, and on the testimonials, like we're happy to connect you if you say, oh, I want to talk to somebody that has a company similar in size, or I have a team, or I want to talk to somebody that did a team, we're happy to connect you. So, so we'll answer any more Q&A, and I'll just stop my share. And thank you for participating.
All right, I think Jim had put in there, that was awesome. Great. Thank you, Jim, for your questions. Anything in the chat? I see Chris put something about signing up for the next step. So the next step, guys, is going to be on scaling your business. That's 3 specific modules we've alluded to. We've talked about it in a couple of the slides here today. And we encourage you guys, this is what we say. If you're all about growth, who's not, right? You wouldn't be on this call if you weren't about growing your organization. So with that, take each one of this and follow these steps. These are the steps we encourage you to go through, all right? Whether you work with us or you do it on your own, those are the steps to take you to another level for your business. We thank you so much for joining us. It's really, I was going to say, it's great seeing you. We're not seeing anybody, but we appreciate you joining us. Reach out to us. You can reach out to us. Lisa is Dean at T360, and we'll put that in the chat real quick. Lisa.Picardo@T360.com. You actually do the application. We'll get those. We'll respond to you, and we'll look forward to talking to you guys. And if not, we'll see you on the next call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.